Is Peyton Manning overrated? This is something that not a lot of people want to talk about because everybody has him as a top three quarterback. And I think that he should be top five. I 100% agree that he's a great quarterback, don't get me wrong. But I don't know if he's 100% a top three quarterback of all time. You have people like Joe Montana, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers arguably is pushing his way into that conversation, Dan Marino, and Drew Brees, who arguably could be better than Manning was. There's even people that will go as far to say as he's the greatest of all time because of his 5 MVPs, which is the most of any quarterback ever. He has 7 first-team All-Pros, which again is the most of any quarterback ever. But he also has arguably the best supporting cast that we've ever seen any player ever have and ever will have. Look at his teammates like Marshall Faulk, Edgerrin James, Marvin Harrison, Dallas Clark, Jeff Saturday, Reggie Wayne, Demarius Thomas, Wes Welker, Emmanuel Sanders, Eric Decker, Ryan Clady, Luis Vasquez. All these guys were multi-time Pro Bowlers, if not all pros, and then even Hall of Famers. We've never seen Tom Brady with Edgerrin James, who's in the Hall of Fame, or Aaron Rodgers with Marshall Faulk. Their best running backs either had a short prime, like Eddie Lacy only lasted about 2 years before falling off. Tom Brady's never had an elite back except for Corey Dillon, who was getting up there in his years when he got there in New England back in like 04, 03. Now let's talk about Peyton Manning's 5 MVPs. He won them in 2003, 2004, 2008, 2009, and 2013. His 2003 one, they went 12-4. He got 67% completion percentage, which was first in the NFL. 4,267 yards, first in the NFL. 29 touchdowns, which was second in the NFL. 7.5 yards per attempt, third in the NFL. And had 566 attempts, which was second in the NFL. 2003, I will say 100% he deserved it. He was by far the best quarterback that year, which was mainly due to his offensive line being insanely good, only allowing 18 sacks all year, which, to put that in perspective, the Colts' 2018 offensive line allowed 18 sacks also, one of the best offensive lines in football. A thing you'll start to notice with Manning winning the MVPs is that his offensive line has been insane. In 2004, he won the MVP again, only being sacked 13 times, which allowed them to go 12-4. Manning was third in the NFL in completion percentage, third in yards, first in touchdowns with 49, first in yards per attempt, and eighth in attempts. The only other quarterback that you could have argued for MVP was Dante Culpepper, who was first in completion percentage and first in passing yards, but he had 10 less touchdowns and one more interception, which is why I believe Peyton Manning also deserved this MVP. Now we get into 2008, where again, for his third straight MVP year, they went 12-4. Manning was third in completion percentage, sixth in yards, fifth in touchdowns, 12th in yards per attempt, and fifth in attempts. He also tacked on 12 interceptions, which was 11th in the NFL. And this year, when he won it, I wouldn't even say he was the best quarterback in the NFL. I'd give that to Drew Brees, who had more touchdowns, more yards, a better completion percentage, more yards per attempt, and had a worse offensive line. The only argument you have for him not winning MVP in 2008 was that he had a worse record than Manning with an 8-8 record versus a 12-4 record, which is understandable because usually the award is awarded to the player on the best team. But then in 2009, Manning went 14-2. He was second in completion percentage, second in yards, second in touchdowns, seventh in interceptions with 16, eighth in yards per attempt, and second in attempts, with only being sacked 10 times. This year, by far, I would say Drew Brees was the better quarterback and only had one less win with a worse offensive line. I don't think we have to talk about his 2013 season when he had one of the best quarterback seasons we've ever seen. He obviously deserved this one. I don't think it even comes close by anybody. He was set an NFL record in touchdowns with 51. In his first few weeks, he tied the record in touchdowns in a game with 7. So I talked about his amazing teammates that he had on offense, multiple Hall of Famers, all pros and Pro Bowlers. I talked about his MVPs, how he deserved 3 of them 100%. 2 of them, he wasn't the best quarterback, I would say, and I'd give both of them to Drew Brees. But I can understand the 2008 one going to Manning since Drew Brees didn't make the playoffs that year. 2009 was a straight-up robbery, and I think we should all be able to agree on that. But something that interests me is that when talking about Tom Brady, who everybody should consider the greatest of all time, they always like to bring up how many great defenses he's had to carry him and whatever. But Manning had 7 top 10 defenses, and yet only led Super Bowl teams 3 times, winning 2 of them, and one of them he had his worst season ever as a starter in 2015 when he had one of the best defenses of all time. It's the only reason they won the Super Bowl. In the 2006 season, they got lucky enough to play Rex Grossman, who led the 13-3 Chicago Bears to the Super Bowl with 20 interceptions in the regular season. He added 2 more in the Super Bowl, and they scored one of their touchdowns of their 17 points. That's all they scored in the Super Bowl. They scored one touchdown on a kick return by Devin Hester. And then in 2015, the 15-1 Panthers were just getting smothered by that no-fly zone defense, and were only able to score about 10 points in that game. I just don't see how Manning should have had any trouble winning those Super Bowls. The only Super Bowl that I'll give him any type of credit for was the 2013 one when he had to play the Seattle Seahawks and the Legion of Boom, one of the best defenses we've ever seen. I don't expect him to win that. He had 2, as people would say, Mickey Mouse wins, where he didn't have to do anything. All he had to do was put up 20 points in each game and he would have won. If you put Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, anybody in that situation, I would hope they're able to do that if they're considered a top 5, top 3 quarterback of all time. Also, if you look at the quarterbacks that he's surrounded by when you're talking about top 5 quarterbacks, he was the least careful with the ball, turning it over 70 times in his 3 most turnover seasons. These are the stats of quarterbacks that he's considered to be around by, and their top 3 highest interception seasons. You can see Manning, besides Marino, no one's even close to Manning. This just shows how he wasn't careful with the ball, and sometimes he was a liability. He threw 28 interceptions in 1 year. I wouldn't consider that to be a top 5 quarterback if you just see 28 interceptions in a year. You know how much hate someone like Tom Brady would get if he did that? If he threw 28 interceptions in 1 year? He was getting hate for throwing 12 this year. Just to recap this video, I do think Peyton Manning is a top 3 quarterback. I have him at number 3, but I don't see it out of the realm of possibility of him being at number 5. That's the lowest I can see him being because he did have an amazing career. But one of his MVPs I don't think was deserved. 2 of them I don't think he should have won. And then his 2 Super Bowl MVP, or his 1 Super Bowl MVP, the other one he didn't win because of Von Miller. I don't think he deserved that. I don't think he had the best game, and I would have given it to their running back, who's averaging about 5 yards per attempt. He had 115 yards and a touchdown. Manning just played all right in that one, which, I mean, give it to him. It's his first Super Bowl. I don't expect you to, put up amazing numbers. But if you're going to be considered the greatest of all time, shouldn't you be able to put up some of the greatest numbers in the Super Bowl? He just never did. In 2006, he didn't do that. In 2015, he didn't do that. And in 2013, he definitely didn't do that when they only scored 8 points. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, please like, subscribe, share it. If you thought you learned something, please do all those things. And stay tuned for my next video. Thank you.